Good evening. My name is Lara Satrakian. I'm a student at the college. I study journalism a lot here at Harvard, and most philosophies of journalism that I've been taught involve looking in the gray area for that truth that is out there. So I'm wondering, under what philosophy of journalism do you justify sticking to the black or the white without exploring the gray area?
Well, the policy of looking at the gray area is fine, but the truth doesn't lie in the gray area. The truth lies in either the black or white area. You're either good or evil. You're either effective or you're not. Now, that oversimplifies it in the sense that some people aren't all evil all the time, some people aren't all good all the time. But the problem that I think you're having in your journalistic classes is, what I do on television is what they do on the op-ed page of the newspapers, okay? That's what I do. I'm a columnist, kind of, and I bring a point of view after looking at the facts, looking at the story, and getting other people's opinions, and I make up my own mind. But if you're always equivocating, you're never, ever going to get to the nub of the story. I'll give you a good example. After 9/11, the Red Cross collected almost $1 billion. Almost $1 billion from generous Americans who wanted to help these 3,000-plus families. All right? Now, 4 weeks later, families were calling me because 29 people in my town on Long Island died. So they were personally telling me, hey, we haven't heard from the Red Cross. We don't know. What's the story? Can you find out? And I said, sure, I'll try my hardest to find out. So we put some people on what Heath Kern used to do. We put some people on the story. And they came back to me and say, absolute chaos. Absolute chaos. They don't know what they're doing. There's no data bank. They collected the money. They're not sending it out. There's an argument within how much money they should send out, how much they keep for themselves. It's drawing interest. These guys are making $350,000 a year. So I smashed them. I smashed them. All right? So, black, white. I decided they weren't doing the job. Now, I could have been in the gray area and said, well, maybe a little more time, maybe this, maybe that, blah, 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 blah. All right? That, number one, is death for a journalist to do. And number two, doesn't get anything done. We got them to turn $350 million more over to the families because we pounded on them. All right? That's the way I operate. Uh-oh, an empty mic.
My name is Herman Soot. I'm also at the medical school, and I was interested in your assessment of the virtues of the straight black and white approach to the war on terrorism by our president. But I would like to ask you, what is wrong about having someone give some deep intellectual thought as to why this happened, instead of reaching for the gun like a Texas schoolboy cowboy?
Well, I'll tell you. Here's the deal on that. There's nothing wrong with understanding the underlying philosophies of your enemy. Nothing wrong with that at all. Now, if George W. Bush wants to take, that reading material to bed with him, and he should, but I'm sure he doesn't. But it's not necessary. It isn't necessary to understand why Adolf Hitler was a psychopathic barbarian. It's not necessary for you to read Mein Kampf and his crazy rantings about Jews, gypsies, homosexuals, and everybody else. That's not necessary, because he's evil. He's evil. Anybody who kills civilians in the World Trade Center or blow up babies in Jerusalem Cafe is evil. They're evil. Now, if you want to understand evil, as a doctor for an intellectual exercise, I applaud you. But you don't make policy on it. You don't pull back and you say, well, Wild West Cowboy. Wild West Cowboy was needed to send a message. That message needed to be sent that if you do this to us, you're not going to be in power any longer. Taliban, you're out. And they're out. So I like people who are kind of in the middle. In the middle. They understand the world, but they don't allow it to paralyze them. And they see things for what they are. Understanding evil is something that is, for me, way beyond my comprehension. I did an interview with a guy named Joel Steinberg one time. He killed his little daughter, beat her to death, and before that had tortured her. This little 4-year-old gets sentenced to life in prison. And I looked into his eyes, and I'm interviewing him. It's pure evil. All right? I'm looking like a snake. I'm looking into a snake's eyes. Now, do I want to understand why Joel Steinberg killed his daughter? No. No, I don't. I want him to be in prison for the rest of his life.